So we're still interested in this question about what's the relationship between the way language is used and what words mean. And this week we're going to be considering a conventionalist answer to that question. So the conventionalist answer says, well, the reason why words mean what they do and why sentences mean what they do is because there's a convention of associating those expressions with their meanings. It might seem kind of weird that it's taken so long for us to come to this kind of account, because it's one of the more obvious thoughts about why you might think words mean things. A very natural idea is just, well, it's just a convention. There's a convention that that's what they mean. Despite how obvious that idea might be, it took an extremely long time for a plausible version of this story to be spelled out. And basically the reason for it is that if you think about it, there's a very obvious question which faces the conventional account. Because if you think about how conventions actually tend to be formed, a lot of them are formed using language. When we come to decide on a convention for how to do something, we seem in general to use language to do so. And so a very natural worry about any conventionalist account is that it will just be circular. Because the worry might go, in order for there to be a convention, wouldn't there have to be a language you use to formulate the convention in the first place? So for quite a while, this was taken to be a very serious objection to any kind of conventionalist account. This week we're going to be considering David Lewis's conventional account of meaning and language use. And the important thing about Lewis's account is that he actually provides a way of getting around this objection. One of Lewis's very first pieces of philosophy was an entire book on convention, just called Convention. And one of the things he tried to do was try to make clear how conventions could arise without language. Then later in that book, and also later, and then in his later work, in particular in the paper we're going to focus on today, Languages and Language, he put that account of convention to work in giving a conventional theory of language use. So today we're going to work in a number of steps. We're going to start off by talking about just convention itself. Start by thinking about examples of convention, what they have in common, and we'll work up to Lewis's definition of a convention, or at least the one he gives in Languages and Language. Then we'll apply that understanding of a convention to language. We'll dig in to see what is the kind of convention that Lewis thinks applies to language. What kind of convention is it that's in place when we use a language in a certain population or community? From then onwards, we're going to start considering some objections. We're first going to consider some less serious objections, but ones that help flesh out in greater degree exactly what is involved in a convention. The two objections we'll consider after that are much more serious. The first more serious objection we'll consider points to a problem in Lewis's account where it doesn't really, while it may tell us what the sentences in our language mean, the worry is it doesn't tell us what the words in our language mean. And then the final objection, which we might call the objection from long sentences, argues that even for certain kinds of sentences, Lewis's account doesn't actually give us the right theory of what they mean. So that's going to be our plan for today.